This is Sleeping in Trees, the audiobook, Chapter 37, Evening Dip. It was early on a Saturday night, and I was milling around with Dork outside his garage in the driveway. We were bored, had nothing going on, and no concrete plans for the night. Dusk, my favorite time of day, was enveloping the neighborhood streets. Dusk is not a thing, it's an event, the continuum along our optic journey from light to dark. As it silently tiptoes up unannounced, one just realizes daylight has become a little less light. Shortly afterward, the inflection point occurs when eyes begin to play tricks. Things that you think are there don't really exist, and things that were previously unseen strangely appear. Then dusk just fades to black. Dork was a mysterious and dark one. He seemed to wrestle with demons, shifting without warning from the light to the dark and then back again for no apparent reason. He seemed to always be simmering just below the surface, would be present and connected, and then distant and obscure as he retreated into his own world with doors tightly shut. He ebbed into the scene and then flowed back out, so no one really knew where he resided or what to expect. Dork was strong, athletic, and very quick on his feet. He, Dinkle, and I were always vying for the crown of most fleet amongst the crew. It was a back-and-forth contest, and he often secured the small crown. After flying Corsair jets off aircraft carriers in World War II, his dad was a cargo pilot, and at any given moment could be flying a load of cattle to Argentina or pallets of washing machines to Costa Rica. He was gone a lot. This presented a special challenge for Dork's mom to raise, single-handedly, him, Cricket, and his older sister. To deal with the stress, she would occasionally seek solace in a bottle of gin. If we were around, there was a strong chance that some form of mayhem would ensue. So it was that night. There had been some kind of altercation at dinner. Voices were raised and a glass of milk was hurled. Tempers on both sides were running at an elevated level. Cricket wisely vacated the area. Had I known this, I would certainly not have agreed to go swimming in Dork's pool, but would have rolled down the street to Dinkle's instead, and perhaps enjoyed a lower-risk venue. As a general rule, I preferred to avoid open conflict. One of the odd things about Dinkle's home life was that after his mom arrived in the evening from the boat factory, she was gone for the night. She would try to fix something to eat, but this was usually a stretch. With 5 kids, the cupboards were often bare. I remember the morning I rode up Dinkle's hilly driveway on my Stingray to meet him so we could ride the 3 miles to elementary school. He popped out of his kitchen with breakfast in hand. All he had been able to rustle up was a single raw onion. We rode up off the road, he with one hand steering, the other holding his onion, as he ate it just like a ripe piece of fruit. What her 5 children did with their nights was up to them. With the wide disparity in age, experience, and maturity, all I can say is that those evening activities were all over the lot. One day, there was a stolen motorcycle buried in the woods across the street. The police soon located it. Another night was violent. I witnessed a large shortwave radio launched right through the kitchen window into the driveway. There was broken glass and blood. I thought it all entertaining, though sometimes disturbing. Today, there are other more scientific terms applied. Back at Dork's, it was a great night for a dip, except for about 3 months out of the year when it was below 80 degrees outside and the pool water dipped into the frigid 70s. It was always a great night for a swim in South Miami. Dork and I dove in a few times, did some flips, and generally horsed around. Little did we know that his mom was simmering inside, her temperature approaching the boiling point as she watched us through a crack in the drapes. The more fun we had, the more incensed she became. Still not quite over the insults at the dinner table earlier in the evening, culminating in the hurled glass of milk. Finally, As we surfaced after seeing how long we could hold our breaths, Dork's mom stormed out onto the patio from the family room. She was in a fit. With a deep growl, she demanded that we both get out of the pool immediately. I started to dog paddle to the steps. Dork grabbed my ankle and pulled me back. He flatly refused to depart the area. It was looking more and more like we were in this together, and I actually did not recall agreeing to that. Again, she made the demand. Again, Dork refused. This was escalating rapidly. Not wanting to ignite her anger any further, a very scary thought, I urged Dork to get out of the pool with me. I wanted to go. For me, the fun was over. He stubbornly refused. It deteriorated from there. As her voice was raised and her growl became more guttural, Dork's language went straight to the toilet, and he began to fling the most offensive insults. I was aghast, horrified really. She stomped back and forth, raging and threatening, repeatedly slinging the assurance of very severe consequences when Dork's father was home once again. "When your father gets home, he's going to string you up," was a threat I had heard many times over the years. I heard it repeatedly as we treaded water in the middle of the pool that night. At that point, she careened down the side of the pool and picked up a long, aluminum-handled brush used to sweep algae. In those days, to keep a South Florida pool clear and blue took a lot of work. Before the robots we have today that cruise around on autopilot, actual humans had to sweep and brush. The little raging bull rushed at Dork as a knight atop a horse would with a long silvery lance. He dodged easily to the side as she stabbed, grabbed the brush end and gave it a yank. His crazed mother barely averted plunging headlong into the pool. Now she was really steamed, her face bright red and her auburn hair a disheveled, frizzy fright. Looking around as she shouted her threats, she spotted the pool chemicals in the corner of the patio next to the grill. The red bottles were the bad ones, filled with the very nasty and caustic chemical muriatic acid. The white ones were the less powerful, filled only with poisonous chlorine. She went for the red one. With a full jug of acid in hand, she had our attention and began to stagger and careen around, yelling and screaming for us to get out of the pool or else. We could see the smoky fumes rising from the open jug as she moved past us just a few feet away. We dog paddled in the middle of the pool, watching her every move. When Dork hurled his final four-letter insult, she hit full stop. Enough was enough. Ever so slowly, she began to methodically pour the acid into the pool as she stumbled along the edge. She was clearly on a mission to wring the edge with acid, trap us both, and create her own pool of horrors. We glanced at each other with eyebrows raised, in silent acknowledgement that we were duly impressed with her latest strategy, and we both knew it. Even though we rarely played chess, Dork and I understood the limits and finality of checkmate. We also knew what we had to do. When she reached the opposite end of the pool with her big red jug of acid, we made our move. We dove down deep to the bottom and swam like a couple of frightened porpoise straight toward the shallow end and the concrete steps. Both of us exploded up and out of the pool and hit the patio running at full tilt, blowing through the screen door and out into the dark backyard. Off we ran down Dork's driveway and into the front street, gasping for air. In a few moments, his raging mother appeared in the open garage, lit with a single overhead bulb. She walked out to where the light framed the opening and peered into the dark, weaving back and forth. She could not see us. Yelling a few more threats about being strung up when Dork's father got home, she staggered back into the kitchen and slammed the glass jalousie door. Throwing a rock and roll band party was quite the rage in the 1960s. Mom caught the bug, and she and Dad would rue the day. Up next is Chapter 38, and it's called Mom Throws a Party.